Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for once again a festival preview. Usually we bring you plenty of weekend previews. However, last week we brought you Chester. This week we bring you the Dante Festival at York, which looks a really fascinating 3 days there at York. And we're going to be previewing 5 races, the group races on the card there across those 3 days. Jack, we've got plenty to get stuck into, and we've got plenty of interesting races to go through. Just before we get into those races, though, I mean, we've seen the news only on Tuesday with regards to Middleton Brook and the 1,000 guineas winner from a few years back. Really upsetting news to see or hear that horse has passed away. Jack, we were both there at Goodwood when that horse actually won in style that I will never ever forget. I can't believe that horse won that day. It was absolutely amazing. I know that you've already tweeted the video out on your Twitter. She was a special horse, wasn't she?
Oh, she was as tough as nails, wasn't she? Look, she was so brave and gutsy. She gave 100% every time. You saw when she won the Kingdom of Bahrain Sun Chariot Stakes the year after her Guineas win. Look, she was just as tough as anything. She gave 100%. And yeah, it's such a shame to see her go. I know she does have a foal, one singular foal who was born in January. So hopefully in a couple of years, her legacy will continue.
Yeah, she really was a special filly. And talking about special fillies, it was great to see the day before my birthday, Sabila Spain go and win out in France. And God, what was very dramatic, that horse left it very late and ended up getting up on the line. And I will be going out to France. I've been invited out kindly by Christopher Head to go and see her on French Derby weekend. I'm heading out there. And I'm hopefully going to get some footage as well, an interview with Christopher. So I know that the plan is to go to the Duke of Cambridge. He's already told me that at Royal Ascot. So that's going to be very exciting for that horse to come over. As always, we're sponsored by Star Sports. All the prices that we talk through today will be their prices. And obviously, yeah, the link's down in the description so you can go sign up to them there. Right, let's get stuck in to the Wednesday to start off with. Jack, we've got 2 races to preview on the Wednesday. And the first race we'll look at is the 3 o'clock there at York. And this is the 1895 Duke of York Clipper Logistics Stakes. It's a Group 2 over 6 furlongs for 3-year-old upwards. Dragon Symbol is currently a 5-2 favourite with Star Sports. Minzal 3-1 for Dream, a horse that Jack loved last season with a different jockey booking this time around, usually with Jamie Spence, this time with Danny Tudhope. That horse is 15-2. Garrus 17-2 for the informed Ryan Moore on board that one. Emiratiana 10-1, Rohan 10-1 and 12-1 bar these. Now, before we came on, Jack, we said this was a very interesting race and potentially one of the better races of the festival. And I think we've got to start with Dragon Symbol, who's obviously changed yards and now gone to the Roger Varian stable. And Roger Varian's been in fine form already this season. We know I'm a massive fan of this horse. I've always been saying, I think Archie Watson, when he trained this horse, said that he will win a big one. I think potentially, look, he could go and win a big one this year. He's only 4, he's still improving. And he could have a very big season for Connections. The one worry is you've actually got to go all the way back to around this time last year, May the 2nd, I think it was, when he last officially won. He obviously won the Commonwealth Cup in dramatic circumstances. He obviously ended up with the result. He didn't officially win that race, but in terms of his last win, it came all the way back on that kind of hot streak of wins at the start of the season. He had about 11 runs last season. Maybe Roger Varian will kind of take things easy with the horse this year. And there will be big targets for this horse, I'm sure, like the Sprint Cup and races at Royal Ascot. I'm sure they've got them all on the agenda for him. Do we think that Dragon Symbol, Jack, with the change of yard, it could make a hell of a difference to him?
I'm not too sure. I think it's really hard to know kind of from an outsider's view how much has changed in his training schedule and whatnot, and kind of what kind of changes have been done there. I suppose only owners and trainers themselves will really know that. But look, he was the definition of a Group 1 sprinting yardstick last year, wasn't he? He was 2nd, 3rd, 4th. He was literally placing until you could tell the long season took its toll on him in the champion sprint, and he was nowhere to be seen. Look, I think we've both been saying he's been crying out for 6 furlongs rather than 5 furlongs. I think the conditions are going to be absolutely perfect for him. He's drawn in 4. 3 of the last 7 winners came out of 4. I think everything is perfect for him. But look, he isn't that short. I think he's a relatively fair price, but I don't think it'd be very, very me to back a favourite 11-4 who's been off for half a year, who's changed yards and clearly doesn't like winning. I know that was your quote of last year. He will win a big one. But Sam, when's it going to come? When's it going to come? Who knows? He does like to place, but look, I won't back Minzal either. I think if he was going to win, I think it would have been in the champion sprint. I think over on the far side, he kind of got a great passage through, unlike the Dream. And if you look at the form of that at the moment, Creative Force was 14th in the Alcross sprint since, and Glen Shiel was turned over by Brad the Brief at Haydock. So look, at the end of the season, I'm not too sure how much you can look deeply into that form. Look, I love the Dream, absolutely love the Dream ever since her second run in the Fred Darling. But I do think she wants 6 furlongs on soft ground, or perhaps 7 furlongs. I don't think 6 furlongs on quick ground. She may just be done for speed there. And I've landed upon the Colbert trained Spycatcher at a double figure price, who I think has just been running really well this term. He was knocking on the door. I think they were knocking on the wrong door last year when they were running him over 7 furlongs. He was second to Creative Force, albeit 3.5 lengths beaten, and then he romped home over 6 furlongs at Newmarket. I do think he's taken a big step forward this year. He won the Catchy Stakes, coming all the way over the top, and then I thought that was a career best. And he was slowly away at Newcastle last time out. He was outpaced early doors, had to come widest of all yet again, but then kept on in good style to just be denied. Finished third there, but a very, very close third. It was a bunched finish. I think he's probably going to take another step forward. He's only 4 years old. He's 11-1. If Dragon Symbol does fail to fire, hopefully Spycatcher will be there or thereabouts.
Okay, Spycatcher for yourself. And it's actually interesting because I actually looked at this race and went through all the runners, and I actually thought the Dream had a decent chance in here. It's not actually going to be my selection, but I've got a feeling the Dream could be in for a big season. A horse that tends to like to come from the back. So you'd kind of want Jamie Spencer aboard this horse in some ways, likes to hold up, but Danny Tudhope isn't a bad replacement at all. I agree with you with Minzao. I think if he was going to win a race, it would have been on the Champions Day at Ascot, and he had no real excuses there. I see that Minzao has an entry in the Platinum Jubilee Stakes. That might be a race that he runs a big one. He's around sort of 12, 14-1 for that race. But I'm going to be with my boy Dragon Simba. I'm probably going to be following him all season. He's, like you say, he's probably a fair price at 5-2. He's not a bad price in what he can potentially do. And we know this horse runs well fresh at 3-4 wins on the bounce. His kind of form got worse throughout the season, and maybe he paid the effect of a long season last year. And like I say, if Roger Varian can take things a lot more steady with this horse, and he's probably got a decent route around some of the big Group 1 sprints, I think the Dragon Symbol is going to have a hell of a year and be a difficult one to beat over 6 furlongs in the sprinting division. But I think the Dream will run a big race as well each way, and Jack will be with Spycatch for the Carl Burke team. Now let's go on to the 3:35, the race straight after that sprint. It's the Musidora Stakes. This is a Group 3 over 1.25 miles, considered an Oaks trial, and Emily Upjohn is your 4-6 favourite with Star Sports. Life of Dreams is 11-4. The Algarve for Aidan O'Brien 7-1, probably a big price considering the form he's in. Luna Dorada 16-1, and I think it's Xing Shi is 22-1. Right, I'll start with my selection here, and I say it's a selection, but I'm not actually moving it up. I think Emily Upjohn's going to win this, and the reason that I'm going to say this is because I'm not impressed in that many ways by Life of Dreams, and the reason behind that is I know the horse beat a horse called, I think it's Spyfall, very easily at Newbury for David Manuzier, and that horse actually ran at the weekend at Ascot, and I wasn't too impressed by the way that horse ran. I don't know whether the form of that race is that great, and Life of Dreams did it easy, do not get me wrong, and potentially there could be more in the locker with Charlie Appleby's horses. But I think potentially, you never know, Judith, who won that race, might end up to be a really, really smart filly for the Gosdens. But I think they think of a hell of a lot more of Emily Upjohn, who won at Sandown the last day. Again, probably didn't beat much, but did it in really impressive style. I think the further this horse goes, all the way up to 1.5 miles, the better this horse will be. I think she'll be very difficult to beat. The Algarve is very interesting. Now, this horse's last win as a 2-year-old came on heavy ground, which would be the slight worry because I think we're going to end up with decent ground come this week. And you go back and you look at the horses that this horse has been beaten by. Was beaten by History for Aidan O'Brien the run before that, and History's been very good, and History could turn out to be a very smart filly, but again was beaten very easily that day. I just think this horse might need a bit of softer ground. 7-1 is a big price about Aidan O'Brien horse, but I think Emily Upjohn at around 4-6 is going to be tough to beat, but not a horse that I'm going to be backing at all. Jack, what about yourself?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be a great watching brief. I definitely won't be having a bet, that's for sure. The Algarve, I completely agree. Of course, she's a full sister to Van Gogh, who of course loved the heavy ground as well. So I think probably towards the end of the season, she'll be seen to better effect. Emily Upjohn, as you say, that was an absolute rout at Sandown, carrying a £7 penalty. And Frankie couldn't believe what he was sitting on. He was saying, you look at the the form of Life of Dreams. I think third that day, Susie Shoes was last in the Oaks trial at Lingfield as well. So it hasn't been put to great effect. Of course, Life of Dreams could just be a lot better and take another big step forward. I do think Emily Upjohn is definitely the one to beat and will win. I'd really like to see Luna Dorada run a big race as well for Rafe Beckett. I was really impressed with her win last time out last year. She beat Gin O'Clock, but she looked very professional in doing so. It was on soft ground that day. Again, may prefer the softer ground, but then again, I think she'll probably get better the further she goes. So hopefully it could be a decent prospect for Rafe Beckett further in the season, but hopefully she'll run a good race.
Yeah, I did give a mention for Luna Dorada actually on the Chester video when we were discussing the Lingfield Oaks trial. The horse was entered there as well, didn't actually run, but I would have thought the Luna Dorada would have gone quite well in that Oaks trial at Lingfield. It ended up possibly to be quite a weak race there at Lingfield, and potentially would have gone a lot better. I just think this is a much tougher race for her, but she could turn out. This could turn out to be a very good race. You never know. And Emily Upjohn could cement herself as the Oaks favourite, and it'll be a really interesting race. And like Jack says, a bit of a watching brief. Now let's go on to Thursday now, and this is the 2:25 at York. This is over a mile and a quarter, and this is the Al Basti Equil Dubai Middleton Stakes. This is a Group 2 for 4-year-olds upwards, and Thunder Kiss is currently your 2-1 favourite with Star Sports. That's for the Ger Lions team. Noon Star, horse that I've never got along with, is 100-30. Vildergrass is 4-1. For Barents 5-1. Lilac Road 8-1. And Arista 20-1. Now, Noon Star was a horse that I really kind of gripped onto last season. Was a bit of a hype horse, I won't lie. I kind of got onto the hype and never really delivered. And last time out, made hard work things, got the job done, but did make very hard work things. And potentially there's still work to be done with that horse and Sir Michael Stout and Ryan Moore. Hopefully the horse will go a lot better this time around. But I think it was this time last year, Jack, that me and you both like a Jessie Harrington horse in this race that didn't actually run. She's actually got one that's likely to be running this time around, and that's for Barents, who I think has got a hell of a chance in here. And I think it's a really fair price at around 5-1. You look at this horse's form and beat Saida for the Charlie Appy team by 2.5 lengths the last day. That was last season. Prior to that, the horse who finished third in that was Sela Rossi, who came out and won the other day, an impressive style. I actually think that the form's very good. I can see this horse coming on again this season. Shane Foley's one of my favourite jockeys out there, especially over in Ireland, one of my favourite jockeys to follow when it comes to horses. And he does so well with Jessie Harrington's horses being the stable jockey. I've got a feeling she's going to run a mighty race in here. And for Barents, it's probably going to be my selection at around 5-1. I think the form from last season is going to stand up. And I'm not sure that everything in here is as reliable as it seems. But yeah, I'm going to be with Barents, Jack. Are you going to be with Jessie Harrington's horse?
I'm not, no. I think a mile and a quarter is just going to be a bit too sharp for her. I think the last time she ran over a mile and a quarter was at Sligo when she finished third in May last year. So I think she probably does want a little bit further. Thunder Kiss, very impressive last time out, wasn't she? But I think the field just looked very average. Of course, you've got to respect Ger Lyons when he sends one over here to York, but I just think it looks very average. I think Colin Keane's one of the best in Europe on his day, and he may just do another master ride. But I think it's probably between the stout pair. He won this last year with Queen Power, when I think she won by 7-8 lengths in the end. But look, I'm probably not going to desert my girl Noon Star. It's not going to be a race I'm going crazy about. But look, although she was only workmanlike, I think, in the Nottinghamshire Oaks last time out, I just think her 3-year-old form and even 2-year-old form is rock solid. She had the win at Wetherby when she beat Loving Dream, who of course went on to win a Group 1. She was second in the Musidora before Snowfall, bless her, went and romped home in the Oaks. And then also beat Tiona that day, of course, won the Group 1 over in France de Vermeil. So she was disappointing in the Ribblesdale over a mile 4, but maybe the step up in trip just came a little bit too soon. Hopefully she'll be able to grab this. Hopefully they'll be able to step her back up in trip. But I think a mile and a quarter at the moment looks like her trip, and hopefully she'll be able to go well.
Okay, a Noon Star for you. It's an interesting one because, like you say, I don't think it's the best field in the world, and I think a horse who may even want further in time might be able to take this if having the ability. That's the reason sort of behind forbearance. And Noon Star is definitely interesting. Whether that horse, the hype from last year, whether that horse can bring that forward, I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a fascinating race. And Colin Keane and Ger Lyons, they settled the favourite in that. So going to be a really fascinating one to watch, but not one that I'd be overly confident on at all. But the race that I would be quite confident on is actually the next one coming up, which is probably the big one of the week, and it's the 3:35 at York. This is over a mile and a quarter, and this is the Dubai Dante Stakes, a Group 2 obviously for the 3-year-olds, and isn't officially the last Derby trial. We've still got the Cocked Hat Stakes to come at Goodwood. Jack and I are both going to be there. I think that's next week, and that's going to be an exciting meeting. And I think it's actually the first time Jack and I have been back on course since Cheltenham, to be fair. So we'll see each other for a beer then, I'm sure. I think we'll be there for the 2-day meeting. But let's go through the market for the Dante and Desert Crown. This horse is currently 2-1 with Star Sports. Magisterial in the colours of Stradivarius for Gosden and Dettori 11-4. El Bogadon, I think it's El Bogadon or El Bogadon, is currently 4-1. Bluegrass 8-1. Royal Patronage 11-1. Massive Kayla is 12-1 and 25-1 bar these. Now I think this could turn out to be a very, very good race. I really do. I mean, we look at the form of some of these, even Massive Kayla at 12-1. We know I love this horse, and we know Jack and I were given this horse by Oisin Murphy as a horse to follow, especially at Royal Ascot last year. That horse finished second to Iden, who ran a really decent race in the Guineas. I think the Massive Kayla, it's fascinating that they're going up in trip with this horse. It really is. I'll be intrigued to see how that horse gets on. But I think the one that is overpriced in here is Bluegrass for Aidan O'Brien at around 8-1. I think that's a really decent price. We've seen some of the horses that Aidan O'Brien's been sending out, especially with regards to Derby trials. And Jack and I will be discussing the Derby and Oaks trials in a lot of detail on our weekend preview when we come to the lock-ins. We're kind of going to have a really weird video. We'll have the kind of trial review, and then for the lock-ins, we're actually going to do a runner-by-runner guide and a detailed reason to why they may run well and may sort of things might not plan for them. So that would be quite interesting to do. But I think Bluegrass, we've a lot of people have been saying that the Dante could be quite key in regards to the Derby this year, because we're seeing so many different horses. And I just think that potentially this race here could be the Derby winner coming out of this. I just do. I don't think that we might not have seen the Derby winner win as of yet this season. And Bluegrass, for me, we see Aidan O'Brien's horse. They come on a hell of a lot for their first run. They really do. And the form with regards to this horse was beaten by Pisbadal, who I put up for the Derby. Duke de Sessa was in front of him that day. And if this horse can take a step forward, like I think, and Aidan O'Brien's very complimentary in stable tour with regards to Bluegrass, I think he's going to run a really, really big race. I think he's overpriced at 8-1. I think Desert Crown reminds me kind of Noon Star in the Oaks last season with regards to the fact that this horse is just very short of the Derby on the basis of a lot of hype and the fact that we don't actually know really, we haven't got a cemented Derby favourite at the moment. So I think bookies are running scared. I think 7-1 about Desert Crown for the Derby at the moment is far too short. That may not be too short come the end of the Dante, but I couldn't be backing this horse at 2-1 off the hype. I think Magisterial is a horse that's really taken a step forward from 2. I was quite impressed by this horse last time out. I've listened to some interviews with James Ferguson. He's very complimentary with regards to his runner. But I'm going to be with Bluegrass. I'm going to desert Massacala. I think Bluegrass is going to run a huge race and probably one of the better bets of the week at around 8-1. I'm very, very keen on this one. Jack, who are you keen on?
Wow, that's the most keen I've heard you about a horse in a long time.
Yeah, I am. I'm quite keen.
Goodness me, look, I'm actually a huge Desert Crown fan. I'm afraid to say, I think he was very, very visually impressive at Nottingham, but also very impressive from a time point of view. There was 4 races over the trip, over the mile and 75 yards at Nottingham that day, and from a time point of view, he was very impressive. I haven't been as impressed with Magisterial. Look, I've listened to a few interviews as you have on Desert Crown, and yes, I think 2-1 is a relatively short price. I think it'll drift a little bit perhaps on the day, and it'll be about 5-2. But who knows? Hopefully he will be able to go and do it, and hopefully go on to bigger things. Should he be 6-7-1 for the Derby? Absolutely not. Goodness me, absolutely not. But then again, I think you deserting your boy Massacala is a little bit harsh, perhaps. Of course, Iden went and finished 4th in the Guineas. That turned into a sprint that day. I think the step up in trip is actually going to help. I think he's bred to appreciate this step up in trip, intriguingly enough. I know when he won at Doncaster last year, that turned into a bit of a sprint, which he managed to win. But hopefully, yeah, the form of Iden has been boosted. Hopefully, he'll be able to appreciate the step up in trip. Will he be good enough for Desert Crown? I'm not too sure. So I'll be putting up Desert Crown, and hopefully Massacala can follow him home.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that, Massacala is without a chance in here. I never would. I just don't. I think he won't be able to beat Bluegrass. And I'm looking here, and you can get Bluegrass at around 40-1 with Star Sports for the Derby at this moment in time. And I don't know whether that's going to look a bad price. This reminds me of the time where, you had the likes of Wings of Eagles and Serpentine winning the Derby. I think we could just see an outsider of the Aidan O'Brien lot take it this year. It just looks a bit of a mess of a race at this moment in time. But Jacksonville with Desert Crown in the Dante I'm going to be with Bluegrass, and we're both, hoping that Masekela can improve for the step up in trip, and hopefully be a decent horse to be following this season. Now let's go on to Friday now, and we'll discuss the 3:35, which is the Yorkshire Cup Stakes. This is a Group 2 over 1.75 miles. Oh, this will be interesting to hear your opinion. We've got Trushan and Stradivarius around 2-1 for this race, and Kyprios around 4-1. And then I think you've got sort of Scope and Tashcan, Thunderous. They're all sitting around sort of the 8-1, 10-1 mark. Now, we'd all love to see Stradivarius win this. We all would, but we've got to, not let our heart rule our head here. We've got to go of our head. Trushan, I'm not sure is going to run if the ground stays the way it is. I don't think they'll run the horse. I really don't. I think they'll be quite cautious of how they run this horse this season. And Alan King will find somewhere else. It might just be a weak sort of Group 3 or listed contest where they can get a run into this horse. Kyprios, if running, I think Kyprios is really fascinating this season. I think he's a massive danger in the sort of Goodwood Cup and an Ascot Gold Cup, in all those sort of cup trip races. I think he's a major danger. I think Aidan O'Brien's got a good one on his hands there. Scope is fascinating. Now, that's a horse I've seen a lot of people putting up to follow this season. Now, this horse won the Pre-Royal Oak at Longchamp at the end of last season, beating some fairly decent horses. Don't get me wrong, the horse is only 4 now, was 3 then. So the horse got plenty of improvement still to come. I think Rafe Beckett's probably hoping that he's got a really decent one in the Cup division as well. I think it's quite a decent race, this, if they do turn up. Stradivarius, obviously, on ability. If he can show what he has done over the last few seasons, I think he probably could go and take this, and we might see a lot of these drop out come the day. Tashcan, I've just never really warmed to Tashcan at all. I wasn't too impressed with him the last day at Ascot. But do you know what? I'm probably not going to put one up for this race just because I don't know the full entries as of yet. If Kyprios were to turn up, I would be putting Kyprios up. But if not, I will go with Stradivarius. But if Kyprios turns up, he will beat Stradivarius, Jack. That's all I'm going to say. What about you?
That's awful. That is awful.
Do you not like that, no?
No, absolutely not. You have to put up something, Sam. Goodness
Well,
me.
no. I'd put up Kyprios. I don't know whether the horse is definitely going for this race, but I would put up Kyprios. But if not, I would be with Stradivarius.
Yeah, I seen on Tuesday there was a bit of a drift for Kyprios, which would worry me. But look, I completely agree. If he does go here, I think he's a huge danger to Stradivarius. Of course, he's a brother to Falconate and Search for a Song, who he actually destroyed last time out after a year off when he was behind Dayar and Scope in the Derby trial. Look, I think he's got a massive chance here if he does go. He'll appreciate the step up and trip. He's got the perfect profile as the improving 4-year-old who's going to be kind of perhaps the dominant stayer. I think Scope needs the testing conditions. Trushan, I'm adamant, won't go. Very intriguing that they're stepping Thunderous up after finishing second in the Ormond, staying on that day. So that's very intriguing. But if I'm being honest, if Kyprios doesn't go, I think Stradivarius is going to win this and win this very well. I'm not even just going from my heart there. I just think he showed no signs of stopping to a standstill last year. Yes, he's probably only at 70, 80% as he was at the peak of his powers. He's definitely below his best, but he was as game as anything in the Lonsdale Cup. No match for Trushan in Trushan's conditions in the Cadran, and then gave an almighty showing in the long distance cup. The conditions are perfect. If he's going to win, I think this is a perfect start for him, and hopefully at 2-1, I think he's going to go do the business.
Can I just ask you a question in regards to Stradivarius? And the one thing I will say is the horse is an older horse. We know that now, but ran in the Cigaro Stakes last season. Obviously went and won that race, but there was a lot to work on that day, Jack, and the horse did improve massively throughout the season. Was made to work fairly hard that day and only beat Ocean Wind by a length. Naif Road by an extra half a length, and Staghorn was in that race, who was well back in the field. But I wouldn't have said it was the best form with regards to that race there. And it leads me to think, as an older horse, maybe there could be work to be had with him after his first run. Could you see that as a potential angle in this race?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he may need the run, but again, he did need the run last year at Ascot, but he still got the job done and Pete was in front of him. And I think it could perhaps be the case of that again.
Okay, yeah, very interesting to hear. And I'm actually going to say, with regards to Stradivarius, he's going to have a huge day this year, and it's going to be in one of his favourite places. I think he's going to win the Goodwood Cup this year in a bit of a story, and I think he'll win it at a fair price. I think throughout the season, I think he'll end up being not a double figure odds. He'll probably be sort of 6-8-1, which will be a fair price with regards to Stradivarius. But I've got a feeling his big day this season might come in the Goodwood Cup, as long as there's no rain or anything like that. If he gets quick going at Goodwood, I think it's his course, and he will love it. So it'll be interesting to see. Right. Now let's go. Let's get our best bets for the weekend. And I haven't even asked if you've got any, but you're going to have to give me a nap and next best for this week coming. I'll start off with my next best. And my next best is actually going to come in a race that we haven't previewed today, and it's actually coming on the Wednesday. It's the 4:10 at York. This is a handicap over 7 furlongs, and I really like Mojo Maker in here for the David Loughnane stable. Obviously, they had a really nice winner in the Lily Agnes Stakes at Chester. Was very, very impressive, actually. I was quite impressed by that horse there. William Buick takes the ride on Mojo Maker. The last day this horse was beaten, I still don't know how the horse was beaten. Probably needed an extra yard, but was done in the photo and beaten by a nose. I just think that potentially this horse got loads of improvement off a mark of 88. I think there's work to be done. And the one worry would be is taking on a favourite here in Sam Baru for the Gosden team. He's currently around a 5-4 favourite in that race, potentially very well handicapped, one of those sort of listed or group horses in a handicap here. But just think worth taking on. I think an each way bet on this horse will be no harm, around 13-2, 7-1. That'll be Mojo Maker in the 4:10 at York. Jack, who's your next best this week?
My next best is going to also come on the Thursday. It's going to be in the Westow Stakes. I'm going to have an each-way chance on Project Dante, who, of course, romped home on debut, finished third in the Norfolk behind Go Bears Go and Perfect Power. Didn't build on that towards the end of the season. He's had a wind-up since and a nice break. Hopefully, he'll be well fresh, and he's about 7-1 at the moment, so hopefully he'll be able to go well in listed company.
Project Dante and Dante Day. It kind of makes sense. It could happen. And my nap this week is going to be Bluegrass each way. As long as you can get at the moment we've got 9 runners in there. As long as you can get the free place, I think it's a fair each way bet, around 8-1 at this moment in time. Plenty of improvement from the opening run in decent company, finishing 4th. I'm sure this horse is going to come on plenty for the O'Briens. Jack, your nap this week.
And my nap this week comes in the opener on the Wednesday. It's the first race of the festival. It's going to be Gassy, the favourite for William Haggis, who's 9-4 at the moment. He won this with Illarab last year. He holds a Hardwick entry. He's operating at a 37% strike rate in the last 2 weeks. I think for the same connections, I think he'll be able to go in.
There we go. There's our naps and next best and any other selections for this week ahead on screen now. And like I say, that's it for this week. But we are going to be back with a weekend preview where we'll be previewing probably a couple of races from Newbury, but main focus will be on the Lock-Inch. But we will also be discussing some of the key trials for the Oaks and Derby, giving honest opinions on what we actually thought and probably giving a selection for the Derby and Oaks, although we've given some long-term anyway on our answer post video. You can see a link to that down in the description of this video. But that's it for this week. We will be back with you on Friday morning, so looking forward to that. Thanks as always, Jack, and we will see you then.